the Wattbike Atom and a little review of how this has gone over the last couple of months. So I suppose there's a lot of things to love and hate about the Atom. And I suppose the verdict at the end of the day is that it's no longer here and it's been replaced. So, I guess if you want a short review, there it is. But let's take a look at the good and the bad of the Wattbike Atom. So we'll start with the things that we like. And this one's more general because I guess this counts for all indoor bikes or even dedicated trainer bikes that you have on an indoor trainer and just leave set up, is that it's always there. And so the motivation to ride is easy. You don't have to really set anything up. You just need to throw on a pair of bibs, jump on the bike, and off you go. Whereas before, when I had my outdoor bike and I had to set it up on the trainer, take the wheel off, connect it all, at 5:30 in the morning, I have no inclination to do that whatsoever. So in that regard, it's good. But that'll be the same for all indoor bikes. That's not just the Atom. That's a more general point. Next one, I guess, is kind of related, because this will be the same again with most indoor bikes, but you don't need to index any gears. Nothing's really going to go out of sync. There is some scope that you might need to get an engineer out to do a service after a year, 18 months. But one of the things that annoyed me was I'd be midway through a ride and for some reason the bike just wouldn't enjoy shifting into one gear, or it's noisy, and these problems don't really exist with a dedicated indoor bike, whether that's the Wattbike, the kicker bike. You don't have to index gears, so that's handy. So next one is properly Atom specific, and if you'd watched the video I had of the setup of the Wattbike Atom and the unboxing of it, it basically comes fully assembled. Literally all you need to do is throw in a handlebars, throw in a seat, and throw on the pedals, and off you go. So it's pretty easy to put together. I think it took me about half an hour, and I am the world's worst when it comes to DIY type things. So yeah, it comes in a giant box. 2 people come and deliver it. You literally take the box off, throw the handlebars and the seat on, and away you go. So anyone can do it. It is kind of heavy. It's probably on the sharp end of 45-50 kilos. So it can be done with one person, but 2 people obviously is going to make the job a whole lot easier. Then, looking at the build quality and the actual overall ride quality, this thing feels like a tank. There is no way around it. It is built to last. It is thick frame. It's solid on the ground. All of the tubes are thick and reassuring. There is no worries on sprints. There's no, I guess there's a downside as well. There's no flex, but that, it's just rock solid. I have absolutely no concerns about this at all. It says the top weight is 120 kilos. I reckon you could probably put way more than that on it relatively comfortably, because it is a proper unit. The next one, I guess, again, quite Wattbike specific, it is a lot cheaper than the competition. So you can pick up your Wattbike for less than £2,000. Now compare that with, a kicker bike, which is another £1,000 on top of that. Compare that to, admittedly there are offers on at the moment, but a TAC X Neo bike and a Stages bike, which are both somewhere in the middle, around 2.5. The Wattbike, if you're looking for your first permanently set up indoor bike, that's going to be a big factor, because you don't want to drop $3,000 and not be 100% sure this is what you want. So the price is a big selling point, big selling point. And also the community on Facebook, there is good Wattbike community. They're really helpful. They've got people that have come up with new and interesting products. There's a guy that's got a monitor mount that goes onto the aero bars, so you can have a monitor right in front of you. It's a great community. It's full of absolutely wonderful and supportive people with all sorts of ideas. If there are any issues, they will probably have it sorted before the Wattbike technical support does. They have the Atom race team as well, who race in the ZRL and some of the other races. So yeah, really good community. Probably the best I've seen from any of the indoor biking groups. However, after all these good points, there are plenty of bad points for me. And I presume, your mileage is going to vary on this, but for me personally, these were the things that made me get rid of the Wattbike. So, first of all, the noise. It's a noisy. I didn't even realise how noisy it was until I got the kicker bike, because the kicker bike is near silent. It's just a little alien noise. The Wattbike, on the other hand, was just loud. My 3-year-old's room is basically directly above the study where the bike is set up. It never woke him up, but through in the next room in the lounge, my partner could hear me. She could hear the bike going, even with the fan off. So, yeah, it was loud. Then, the way that the gear shift work, I'm not particularly fond of the shifters on the Wattbike anyway, because they don't feel anything like a road bike, but the only bike that does is the kicker bike. But the shifters are just 2 little buttons on the top of the hoods, and the cover for the hoods is this little rubber, condom for all intents and purposes. And annoyingly, it moves a lot when you're riding on the hoods. And then when it moves, the little dents for the buttons for the gear shift are out of position, and you end up not being able to change gear because you're not pushing the buttons properly. And it is really the most annoying thing, is when you go for a gear change and it doesn't, and then you have to try and maneuver the hood cover back into place and then go for the shift again. It's not what you want to do after 40 minutes of racing. It's not even what you want to do after 10 minutes of riding. So yeah, really annoying. The gear shift in general is not great, and especially the little rubber covers is especially annoying. So, on the subject of gears, there's no on-bike display to tell you what gear you're in. Other bikes do have it, even though I think on the kicker bike it's not very obvious, especially when you've got a sweat guard on. But there's nothing on the Atom to tell you what gear you're in. And the only way you can find out is if you connect to Zwift via Bluetooth, and there's a little box. And next up are dropouts. With the Atom, I had constant problems with dropouts on Zwift, especially when connecting with Ant Plus. Midway through a ride, connection would drop. You maybe saw it a couple of times in some of the videos. The worst one was the TFC Mad Monday, when with about 2 laps to go, the connection just dropped completely and left me stranded and miles off the back of the pack. It also happens on the Makuri Islands ZRL race, where we were chasing down a top 4, and again the connection dropped just for a couple of seconds, enough to grind me to a halt, reconnect, and then get back going again. And this was just constant all the time. It didn't matter if I was connected by Ant Plus, it didn't matter if I was connected by Bluetooth, through the companion app, everything, it just dropped out all the time. And I don't know, I never really resolved the issue. Customer service never really resolved the issue. And that was probably the single biggest reason for me getting rid of the Wattbike, was just that it was constant dropouts. Other issues that I had with it, on Zwift, the gradient sometimes wouldn't register, so you would feel that you're going up the Alp, but the resistance never changed. It was as if trainer difficulty was on 0 all the time. Again, different connection types didn't help, restarts didn't help, and ultimately it kind of resolved itself and I have no idea how or why, but nobody had a solution to it. Again, customer service, no solution, and it just solved itself. But very annoying to begin with, and this was the first week or so that I had the bike, and I guess we were really off on the wrong footing right there. Other issues, the saddle itself is pretty uncomfortable, but I mean, I'm just going to skip over this one because you can change the saddle, but it's still pretty uncomfortable. The tri-bars on the front, unlike other bikes, it comes with tri-bars which also have a tablet stand on them. The biggest problem I have is that as somebody that's 6'2", they're literally no use. My arms are too long, even on full extension. My arms are too long, so if you're a tall rider, the tri-bars are probably not going to work for you. Other people have reported like this, the height adjustment, the saddle height adjustment as being slippy. I've never had that problem, but I can see why it would. But no, it's never been an issue for me. And I suppose the last and I guess most concerning problem I've had with them has been the customer service. And I suppose the issues themselves aren't that the customer service is poor, it's that the length of time that they take to get back to you is very poor. So I sent a message on the 22nd of November explaining one of the issues that I'd had, and I didn't get a response until the 26th of November, then replied the same day, and then had to chase them on the 30th of November and didn't get a reply until the 2nd of December. And it's just, everything takes so long. Nothing was quick. It was just, there was no urgency in their customer service. And I feel that if you're paying the sharp end of £2,000, you shouldn't have to wait 4 days for someone to get back to you. It's just not really good enough. What I will say, and I'll try and be as fair as I can, but they did take back the bike initially outside. I think you get 30 days where there's no questions asked returns, and then a 2-year warranty. They took it back outside of that and refunded the bike, which I'll give them credit for that. And oddly enough, the best customer service I had was when I asked them just to take it away, and they were like, "Yeah, that's fine, no problem." That was probably the best piece of customer service I've ever had from them. But overall, I found the customer service to be very lackadaisical. It took me posting on their public Facebook groups where there's staff to get responses sometimes, and overall just wasn't that impressed with it. And one problem that has come to light since moving from that is that the Wattbike Atom definitely overreads power. So when I moved from my Kicker V5 onto the Wattbike Atom, I thought I was just doing regular training and my FTP was increasing, and this is, down to the training that I've been doing. And then now that I have the Wahoo Kicker bike, my FTP is back to where it was with the Kicker trainer. So that increase between moving from the Kicker to the Kicker bike, the increase that I had while I was on the Wattbike, is clearly only down to the Wattbike reading high, because two separate Wahoo trainers are given an almost identical FTP, and the Wattbike is 10-15% higher. So I went from 2.6 watts a kilo up to almost 3, and now we're back to about 2.6. So I gotta blame that on the Wattbike. It clearly reads high. And a little disappointing because I thought I was doing well. I was like, hey, all this training's paying off, and it's not. It's not at all. It was just reading a little high. So at the end of the day, I sent the Wattbike back. I now have a Wahoo Kicker bike, which I'm a lot happier with. initially. I've heard all the scare stories and we'll see how that goes, but initially, much happier. Overall, is the Wattbike for you? If you're not concerned about noise and, maybe you don't use Zwift and you're just using like full gas or Training Peaks or System, yeah, it could be. It's a really, really well built piece of kit. I can't fault that. On the hardware side of things, is incredible, really strong, really sturdy. On the software side of things with the connections, not convinced. A lot of people will tell you, oh, don't have other Bluetooth connections in your room or around it, and because it'll interfere. It's not what I'm interested in. We live in a world where there's a lot of Bluetooth connections, so that's not possible. But overall, is it worth it? Probably, but it depends what you're looking for. If you just want an indoor bike that you can jump on and off, and it's pretty sturdy and pretty reliable, you're not that bothered about noise or gimmicks, then yeah, it's pretty good. If you want it to seriously do training, seriously do online races and Zwift and things like that, and you want accurate power, nah, I wouldn't say it's for you. So your mileage will vary, but it definitely wasn't for me. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.